Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit True Off My Chest and it's by user Throwaway Cheating. My 16-year-old stepdaughter was manipulated into hiding infidelity from me. My 47 male stepdaughter, who I'll call Phoebe, lost her dad when she was 7. She remembers him as her hero and I try to keep his memory alive for her as much as I can. My wife, 45 female, and Phoebe's father were divorced when he passed away. I had met him a few times and always admired how much he loved his daughter. We had about 2 years of co-parenting before his passing, so I was there to support both Phoebe and my wife. It was a really tough time for all of us. Phoebe was feeling isolated and confused. My wife was distressed and I was devastated to see them both hurting. I did my best to provide support, even though we weren't wealthy. My main goal was never to replace her dad, so I was surprised when Phoebe started calling me dad when she was 13. It still warms my heart every time she says it. As the years went by, Phoebe and I grew closer and learned to navigate our unique family situation. And about 6 months ago, my wife started pulling away. I thought it was just a midlife crisis, but looking back, it was clear signs of infidelity. She had late work projects, business trips, and seemed distant. She didn't even want intimacy. At the same time, I noticed Phoebe more anxious around her mother. She would avoid me and spend less time with me, which hurt, but I chalked it up to teenage angst. I tried talking to Phoebe, but she would avoid me and stay in her room or out late. Phoebe wouldn't even share about her day with me. That's when I realized something was really wrong. I snooped on our shared iPad and found messages from someone named Fiona. Turns out Fiona is a 40-year-old man. I was feeling a mix of emotions, disgust, anger, and hurt. But one question kept nagging at me. Why was Phoebe acting so strangely? The following evening, I was driving Phoebe to therapy when I decided to ask her about her feelings towards her mom working so much. This seemed to make her defensive. She raised her voice and insisted that she didn't care, that it was just work and everything was fine. We went back and forth for a couple of minutes until she finally asked me, "Do you know?" That's when she dropped the bombshell. Not only had my wife been cheating on me for 8 months, but Phoebe had caught her in the act. I felt betrayed, but that feeling quickly turned to rage when Phoebe explained why she hadn't told me. My wife had threatened her, saying it would be her fault if I left and never came back. As heartbreaking as that was, nothing could have prepared me for what Phoebe said next. "I'm sorry, really, I just didn't want to lose 2 dads. I don't think I could handle that again. Please don't leave me, Daddy." I tried to hide my emotions to reassure her that I wasn't going anywhere, but deep down, I was seething. Hurting me was one thing, but bringing my daughter into it was unforgivable. I wanted to scream, to cry, to see that woman suffer for what she had done to my daughter. But I knew that wasn't an option. All I could do in the moment was reassure my girl. That's what I had to do. I haven't told my wife that I know. I don't know what to do next. I'm pissed. Sorry for being vague. I can't get my mind right. Wow, OP, I am so sorry that you're in this situation. What a horrible woman to do that to your own child. Play to her trauma to make her keep quiet. That manipulation is gross. So definitely, OP, before you confront her or tell her anything, start getting your ducks in a row, financial and document-wise, so you can serve her as soon as possible. And regarding Phoebe, at the beginning of the post and in the title, you refer to her as stepdaughter, but at the end you refer to her as daughter. Does this mean that you've legally adopted her or that you're her guardian or something like that? Because if you have, then you would be able to fight for custody, I believe. And if you haven't, maybe you'd like to talk to Phoebe about that. That is, before you serve your disgusting cheating wife with divorce papers. This way, you are able to keep your promise to Phoebe of staying in her life while getting rid of her crappy mom at the same time. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? What would you do if you were in his shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's go check out the community comments to see what they said. Ghost of a Phoenix says, screenshot everything you found. Find a lawyer. Depending on where you are, you may be able to get visitation due to dad passing and you being a prominent figure in her life, but that is for a lawyer to help you navigate it. I also suggest therapy for your daughter. This is a lot for her to deal with, especially the manipulation from her mom. I really hate cheaters, but I also loathe cheaters who drag kids into the middle of the cluster mess they created. Talk with your daughter. Be real. Tell her that you still love her. Support her. Take steps and see what happens. Be ready to tell her that even if you can't see her, you will always be there, and especially when she's older, she can find you. I am only saying that in the case court doesn't grant you even visitation. I am so sorry for both you and your daughter. Level issue 5196 says, "Wow, how selfish of your wife to treat her family like this. I'm sorry this happened to you. I'm sure Phoebe is very glad to have you in her life. Best of luck to you." And Soft Signature 6340 says, "If you really don't want to lose your stepdaughter, you could possibly ask her if she wants you to formally adopt her. This way, when you divorce your wife, you will still have a legal right to maintain contact and custody, so she can be reassured that whatever happens between her mother and you, you'll still be in her life. Best to act before your wife finds out you know though, otherwise she might try to challenge the process. Also, with her being 16, if somehow you find out that she was putting on an act, you're only liable for child support for less than 2 years. Additional information from OP's comments. I purposefully left out a lot of details. I think a minority of you believe 16 is old enough to know how to do everything. 16, it's quite literally still a child in some aspects. She has trauma, and that causes her to react questionably to things. This isn't the first time she's called me daddy. She normally does it when she's upset, I'm upset, or if the mood of the house is off. I don't find that to be manipulative. I think she's just showing vulnerability in doing so. I spoke to my therapist because the thought did cross my mind that it might be manipulation, but I've ruled it out. It's easy to say she's manipulative when you're behind a screen, but this is a concern she's brought up multiple times as well. And this is the first time she's ever used it after doing something objectively wrong. If she wanted to manipulate me, she would have a long time ago. She also has OCD, and she plans out every conversation before she has it. I don't think saying that was entirely a spur-of-the-moment decision. You have to remember, she is 16. That may have really been her biggest reason for not telling me. I'm not going to leave the poor kid over it. There are also other things that happened that fuel her fear of abandonment. I think if it were manipulation, she would have stopped just at that. But no, she's been incredibly apologetic. She talks to me more, and she even tells me whenever her mother goes to see this stupid guy. Not sure what she's trying to achieve with that one, but I appreciate the effort she's trying to put in. I appreciate all your concern, but I've ruled that out. So the community agrees that OP is in a crappy situation and he should definitely divorce his wife, but they've also raised the adoption option. And OP has given us some context as to why he thinks his daughter's not manipulating him. So now let's move on to the update to see how the story ends. I wanted to give a quick update on the situation with Phoebe. I had to cut it short because I promised a very hungry teenager some McDonald's. The initial 6 hours proved to be quite tumultuous. Phoebe appeared noticeably tense and apprehensive, probably fearing her mother finding out. She clung to me, even going so far as to endure watching baseball, a sport she typically despises. Her conversations with her mother were marked by a hint of irritability, a behavior I chose not to address as I normally would. It seemed as though the dynamics of our relationship had shifted, with Phoebe now exhibiting the same volatile behavior that I had previously experienced. Gradually, she came to realize that she was in a safe environment and began to relax her grip on me. However, her demeanor towards her mother remained curt. Phoebe and I had a chat about what she wants, and she expressed a desire for me to have full custody of her. She also opened up about some other emotional abuse she has endured from her mother. I assured her that I would do my best to gain full custody, but explained that since I never officially adopted her, I may only be able to get visitation rights. She also asked about emancipation, which I admitted I know very little about, so we decided to look into it together. I'm really hoping Phoebe can keep up her grades next year, as she's on track for a music scholarship to a good university. She's been spending a lot of time playing her violin since our chat, and I am happy to see her using music as a way to cope. I'm not pushing her on school stuff right now since it's the end of the year and won't affect her GPA. I'm just hoping she can get back to her usual driven self by September. Phoebe is definitely not acting like your average teenager, but she's starting to show some of her old self again, which I'm grateful for. It made me so happy when she started teasing me again. However, I can't help but wonder if she's hiding her true feelings behind her jokes. She has a tendency to keep her emotions bottled up until she can't take it anymore. She hasn't said much besides feeling relieved about not hiding things from me anymore, but I'm not sure if I should be more concerned. As for my wife, I wish I could say I've stopped caring about her, but a part of me still loves her. I try not to dwell on those thoughts for too long because I believe the best thing for Phoebe is to get both of us away from her mother. I've been reflecting on my own childhood and how my feelings were often overlooked when my parents made decisions. I never want Phoebe to experience the same thing, especially since she will be the one most affected by all of this. Phoebe is currently seeing 2 therapists, one specializing in CPTSD for events I haven't discussed here, and another specializing in OCD. I have faith they will be able to support her through this challenging time. As for me, I'm in the process of looking for a lawyer, and I've been a bit distant with my wife lately. It feels strange to ask Phoebe to keep quiet about what I know, so I've decided not to bring it up. If she does end up talking about it, I won't hold it against her. I've been gathering evidence from texts and bank statements, and it turns out my wife spent around $8,500 on the other guy. I can't believe how clueless I was. Now I need to speak with a lawyer and decide exactly what I'm going to do. Thank you all so much for your support. I hope this was a sufficient enough update on Phoebe's mental state. Well, OP, even though things are still kind of crazy with everything, Phoebe apparently seems to be winding down and you've been able to reassure her, so that's a good thing. And I would also say that her idea of emancipation isn't that bad, so maybe that's a different route from adoption that you guys can take. In any case, here's wishing you both the best in the future. Thanks for sharing, OP, and take care. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice, and it's by user Throwaway Weird Phone. I, 30 female, just heard a phone notification in my bathroom while showering alone. Should I ask my fiance, 33 male, about it? So, my fiance and I have been together for 4 years, engaged for 1. Now, I was taking a relaxing bath this evening to enjoy the silence and let the bathroom fan drown out all the outside noise. My phone was on silent. I wasn't wearing earbuds. I'm deep in a meditative state in the bath when I'm jarred by a phone text or email notification sound clear as day coming from inside the bathroom. I got up immediately like, what the F? I checked my phone even though I knew it was on silence and there were no notifications. So I'm kind of worried at this point and just feel a sinking feeling in my stomach. So I get dressed and look through every crevice, box, cabinet, drawer, and plumbing fixture in the bathroom to find nothing. I know for a fact I did not just hear it in my brain. It was a distinct Android boop 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 sound, which is weird since we don't have any Androids. And before anyone asks, yes, I checked my carbon monoxide levels, lol, they are fine. I have no mental illnesses. My question is, what do I do? Do I even bring this up to my fiance? I sound crazy and don't want to be accusatory, but my first thought was a second phone hidden by him in the bathroom. I couldn't imagine he could ever cheat, but you can never be too vigilant when something random and unexpected like this happens. Should I just wait and see if it happens again? I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little paranoid and have been convincing myself I've manifested the noise, but I know in my gut it was real. Where else would I even look though? Well, OP, there's only two possible situations here. One, you did imagine the noise since you said you were in a deep meditative state, but considering you don't have an Android, why would you hear that noise if, you're not used to it? Or two, there's a hidden phone inside your bathroom or close to your bathroom that you just haven't found yet. Now, if you are absolutely sure that you did not in any way imagine this, then you've got two ways to go about finding this phone. One would be to get one of these devices that checks for frequencies, like the ones that you would use in an Airbnb to see if there is any hidden cameras or anything like that. Or two, you just keep looking in the bathroom, under the sink, behind the cabinet, inside the toilet tank, if there's any vents or anything like that. And another way to go is tell your boyfriend what you've heard and see how he reacts, that is, if you suspect him. And what would you guys do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. Predatory Chicken says, is it possible you dozed off for a second and didn't realize it? People have auditory and visual hallucinations in the transition state between awake and asleep. It's like micro sleep paralysis. This happens to me sometimes, but instead of hearing my phone go off, I would swear of my life I heard someone yell out, "Mom!" And OP responds, I guess? I won't discount it. It just seems weird because it was a notification sound I've only ever heard like 2 times in my life from my phone I don't use. So I don't know. I feel nuts, but it has never happened to me before. A no-ner-coder says, if you really want to know if he has a phone or not, don't ask him if he has one. Tell him you found his phone, indicating proof and no room for denial. Ask him why he had it and go from there. That will most likely break your relationship though, evil as F, unless you are ready to burn the bridges. And Ilowan66 says, of course bring it up. Just say you thought you heard something weird sounding like an Android device beeping in the bathroom one time. It's not accusing anyone to say that. Maybe the sound traveled through a vent or something and is a smoke detector or something else electronic and he knows or heard it too. And OP responds, that's true, not a smoke detector, but I'll probably just bring it up in that way. I think I was just overthinking how to go about it without sounding like a weirdo or accusatory. I need coffee. Additional information from OP's comments. I'm trying to play it off as me imagining things, like a phantom vibration in my pocket. The problem is that it was just very distinct and not quiet. Also, it was not a notification sound I'm familiar with, so I feel it's weird I would imagine that. My fiance wasn't home at the time. I just checked the vents and see nothing. I've never heard any neighbors through my bathroom before either. I guess I should just feel like he's either going to tell me I'm hearing things, or if it was something shady, why would he admit it? Not that I think he is, but I'm struggling to come up with anything else because nobody visits or anything. Alright, so community advice was in general in the same line. Talk to your boyfriend or keep looking. But in this case, where OP is super sure that she heard something but she hasn't found anything, it is a very weird situation to be in. Because it's basically what you've heard versus trust. So you're either gaslighting yourself into thinking you imagine things, or there actually is something and you've just got this feeling that something isn't right. Anyways, we do have an update, so let's move on with that to see what is going on. I did not talk to my fiance about it because I found the phone before he got home. Yeah, I tore the bathroom apart again like a madman, but this time I checked behind the toilet tank between the wall. We have about a 2-inch gap, and mounted on the back of the tank was one of those $1 holder things that you peel off and stick on something to hold items. The phone was placed inside of that sticky mounted thing. Definitely not my phone. And obviously it was meticulously placed there. Well, my fiance and I broke up. The password was the same as his computer that we share, so I unlocked it while trying to stifle an anxiety attack and found Snapchat conversations with at least 3 different women. The notification sound I heard lined up with the most recent snap sent to him of a woman's bare vagina asking when he can come stuff it again. In a rage, I smashed the phone and texted my fiance to come home immediately. He came home and already looked pale like he knew. I asked him how effing long this has been going on and he refused to answer anything. I told him to pack his crap and leave. As he walks out with his backpack, I hear him mutter, "I knew I forgot to silence it." So yeah, I wasn't crazy, I actually heard a notification and he was effing cheating. Now my whole world is upside down and I don't know where to go from here. I just can't believe this. I fell asleep crying and woke up in a daze, feeling like everything was normal until I remembered. Well, OP, I'm sorry that you feel like crap right now, and it's absolutely understandable considering what your boyfriend was doing, but think of the silver lining. You got rid of a cheater that was very devious, by the way, so it's a good thing. You dodged a bullet. Now just take time for yourself and try to put yourself back together. So here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Thanks for sharing and take care. And now, how about we finish the video with a really short mood booster post? This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user Hanky Panky. Permanent structure? Okay. I grew up in an okay town that has since become a bit snobbier. I was driving down my old street last year and I saw my old neighbor, Andrea, sitting on her front porch, so I stopped in to say hi. Turning into the driveway, I noticed a regulation-sized soccer goal in her next door's neighbor's small front yard, which is very out of sync with the rest of the neighborhood. It made me laugh a little. After a quick catch-up, I learned a couple of things. She's the last of my old neighbors who still lives on the street, and the neighborhood has become very keeping up with the Joneses, with the exception of her next door neighbor. I asked her about the soccer goal, and here's the story. The neighbor has a young daughter who loves soccer. She would spend hours in the front yard kicking goals into a small goal anchored in the front yard with tent spikes. Apparently, another neighbor, they don't know who, but they suspect the people directly across the street complained to the township because of the semi-permanent structure in the front yard. The neighbor got upset, obviously. It was basically a toy in the front yard. Cops came to their house, they got a warning, then they thought it would be okay as long as they took it down when they weren't home. But nope. Cops were called again and they were fined while the daughter was using it. The fine said something about having a semi-permanent, because of the tent stakes, structure. Cue malicious compliance. They weren't allowed to have a semi-permanent structure, but they could have a permanent structure. So they went, got a permit from the township, dug the holes, filled it with concrete, and built a regulation-sized goal and hung the permit on one of the poles. Now the mystery neighbor has to look at that goal every day. Ha, that was awesome, OP. After 2 cheating stories, that was the mood booster I needed. Thanks so much for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.